Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And I just got done doing a review video at Dunkin' Donuts and I was like, I have lots to say. I have lots to say on my BookTube channel. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna do a little bit of a book vlog today. I have my coffee from Starbucks, and then I also went and reviewed the blueberry matcha latte. I got an iced one from Dunkin' Donuts, which is delicious. And I also reviewed the avocado toast. So go check out my review on my review channel. But today we're here to talk about books because I'm trying to not talk about books so much on my daily vlog that I do every night, because I go in there and I end up talking about books for like a half an hour, and I know there's a lot of people over there that aren't super interested in books, and then the next day I'm like, well, I want to do a book vlog, but I don't really have anything to talk about because I've talked about it so much the night before, you know? Okay, so let's talk about reading and where I'm at. I finished Hell in the Heartland by Jax Miller, and then I announced the March book for a true crime book club, and you can go see my last video about that. We actually, I reached out to Jax Miller, who wrote Hell in the Heartland, our February book. Oh, by the way, Mel and I decided today that the book club live stream is going to be next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be the first Sunday of March at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. No. Yeah, it'll be the first Sunday in March at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, please come over there and join that. You do not have to have read the book to participate. We just ask that you've read the book if you're going to guest. So, that's all we ask. But we would love to have you over there. And the book club live streams just get bigger and bigger each time, and we're having such a blast with it. So, that will be next weekend. Okay, so I finished that, and this is kind of where I was, and I think I talked about this on here before. It is hot. I have the heat on today, and it's 45 degrees outside, which is like spring weather for us. Although yesterday it was like in the 50s. So, okay, I read Devil's Knot, which Mel calls the Devil's Headache because it was so long. I didn't think it was. I mean, I thought it was long, but it was enjoyable for me. About the West Memphis Three. Then I read Damien Eccles' book, Life After Death. He was one of the West Memphis, or he is one of the West Memphis Three, and it was his memoir of what he went through and his childhood growing up. Both of those, very, very dark. Then I went on to read, what did I read right after that? Oh, Saint X, which was my January book for Peter's book club. It was very dark. Then I went on to read The Project by Courtney Summers, which is about cults. It's a fictional book. It's fantastic. And it was my February book for Peter's book club. Then I read Hell in the Heartland, but it was very dark too. Then I read Hell in the Heartland, which was super, super dark. About two girls that were, well, about a lot of people that were killed in Oklahoma. And then that case reminded me of the Delphi case in Indiana. So, I went and I watched the Delphi documentary that had just been released on cable. It's called Down the Hill. And I had also just watched the Cecil Hotel documentary on Netflix. So literally it was like 2.5, 3 weeks of just constant darkness. And I really, really felt like it was kind of affecting me. Like I was taking in like all of this stuff, and I was becoming kind of like really consumed, reading a lot online about like true crime cases. And I was just like looking a lot at true crime stuff. I was watching every YouTube video at that time that I was watching was about the Delphi case, or this case in Oklahoma that I read about with Jax Miller. Oh, I was also watching Hell in the Heartland on HBO Max, which is the documentary with Jax Miller following her investigation for writing the book. So it was just like, I felt like I was taking all of this in. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way. And the thing is, I love true crime. I love thrillers, but sometimes I don't realize that it's almost kind of making me feel real edgy, if that makes sense. And I was starting to feel like really edgy, and I don't want to say paranoid, but it just was like, I could tell it was affecting my life, if that makes sense. So, or just my daily well-being. I was in a great mood, but it was like, I was becoming kind of consumed with reading all of this stuff, right? So, I was like, I've got to read something else. So somebody had recommended these books to me by Lorna Barrett. It was somebody on Twitter recommended it to me, or maybe it was in a comment of one of my videos. I think it was on Twitter. I'm almost positive it was on Twitter. And the books, I don't remember what the series is called. It's called like the Books View or the Booktown. I think it's called the Booktown Murders or something like that. But they're by Lorna Barrett, and they're about this. They're cozy mysteries, and it's about this woman. And she moves to this small town in New Hampshire, and after going through this like horrific divorce, and she opens a mystery bookstore called Haven't Got a Clue, which is real cute. I thought it was called something else, but it's called Haven't Got a Clue. So anyway, and she, like, her store is on this street that is all like bookstores, like cookbook stores and other bookstores. So right at the beginning, her sister, who she's like not real close with and is like real bougie, comes to visit and decides that she's gonna stay. And the woman that she doesn't get along with that owns this like cookbook store gets murdered. This is literally all right at the beginning. I'm not ruining it for you. So I needed to read some kind of like cozy mystery, something, you know. This was also like me at the time that I was starting outlining my, if you haven't watched my vlog, I decided that I'm gonna write a cozy mystery. So I was outlining this cozy mystery. I've got like the whole thing outlined now. It's like living in my head. I just think about it 24 hours a day at this point. So anyway, so I needed like to read a cozy mystery. So I read that book. I gave it 4 out of 5 just because it wasn't like, I mean, it was really good, but it wasn't like phenomenal. I'm going to continue to read the series. I thought it was really fun. I liked the characters in it. Some of the characters changed throughout the book, and I didn't expect that. And so I really liked that. It was just like, it was a good, cozy read. So I read that, and then I was like, okay, I want to read something really good. Well, Tanya Jean, my best friend, she had told me, she was like, oh my God, that book that you read, it's like they just made a series or a movie about it on Netflix. And I was like, what book? And she's like, you told me to read it and it was so good. And I swear she said Behind Closed Doors. And I was like, okay. And she said Behind Her Eyes, or Beneath Her Eyes, or whatever. It's a Sarah Pinborough book, and I did read it. I read it like right after I read The Woman in the Window, and to some degree they're kind of similar, and I thought it was fantastic. So I'm gonna watch that on Netflix, but I didn't know that that was the book she was talking about. And I had just gone into Audible, and I had purchased all of these books. I have like bought way too many books lately. And somebody reached out to me and said they were getting rid of their Audible subscription. And so they were like, I know how much you enjoy Audible, can I give you my credits? 8 credits, you guys, 8 books. But they have to gift me a book at a time, so I have to give them the titles. This is Jen. Jen is just fantastic. I love her to death. And at first I was like, no, I can't accept that. Like, that is like way too gracious of a gift. I just, you know, I can't do that. And she's like, well, if you don't take them, I mean, they're just going to go to waste. Like, I can't get my money back for them. Audible won't give me my money back, and I'm not going to use it. And then again, I was still like, no, I don't feel right about accepting. Like, that's like a $100 gift. Like, I don't, you know, feel right about accepting it. And she was like, okay. She was like, but it's going to go to complete waste. And she had messaged Alex too. And Alex just kind of randomly, he was like, did you ever contact that girl about those credits that she wanted to give you? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. He goes, well, they're going to go to waste if you don't use them. She said that. And I was like, and he was like, babe, he was like, somebody wants to gift you something really nice. Just accept it and say thank you. So I reached back out to her and I was like, okay, like, you know, if you still want to do it. She was like, yeah, I'm so excited about it. So that was so nice. So she gave me 8 audiobooks, which I'm going to do an audiobook haul here in just a little bit, but I mean, not today, but next week sometime probably. So anyway, I had just also, they had like a sale where there were all these books for sale for $5, and I bought all of these books on Audible. Well, one of them was this book by B.A. Paris called Oh my God, that little girl had her doll out the window, and it was like so spooky just to like drive by and see this doll outside the window, just sitting on the window of the car. Anyway, behind closed doors. Alex's friend Sarah, who never reads, read that book and said that it was like unbelievable. Well, I thought it was the book that Tanya was telling me they made the show about. So I was like, well, I want to read the book before I watch the movie, right? And I downloaded it, so I already owned it. So I started listening to it, and I just could not stop. I literally could not put this book down. And so I called Tanya the next day, and she was like, no, it's not behind closed doors. She was like, I read that book. She was like, that book is fantastic. She was like, it's behind her eyes or beneath her eyes or whatever. And I was like, this isn't the one that there's the movie about on Netflix? And she was like, no, it's the Sarah Penborough one. I was like, oh, I got it all wrong. So anyway, I started listening to this B.A. Paris book, Behind Closed Doors, and you guys, I literally listened to it in 2 days. It was so unbelievable. I could not, if you are looking for an absolute page turner, now I will tell you, trigger warning, it's about an abusive relationship. But if you want an absolute, hands down, page turner, I mean, probably one of the most incredible page turners I've ever read in my entire life. Like 20 years from now, if somebody says to me, what's a book that you literally can't put down, this would be a book I would recommend. I mean, it is that heart-stopping, and it never gets boring. Like, and right out of the gate, it's really, really good. It's not that long. Like on Audible, it's like an hour and a half or something. Oh my God, they're playing The Cure, Friday I'm in Love on my new favorite radio station on what do you call it, on Sirius, is 33 First Wave. They play like all this music from when I was like in high school, and I love it. But anyway, so I finished that book in 2 days. Very, very dark. I mean, unbelievably dark book. Like, it was hard to get through. But I could not stop listening to it because it was so fantastic. I highly, highly recommend it. It was definitely a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I couldn't believe I hadn't read it before. I kept on thinking, God, I can't believe, have I read this? But if I read it, I would have remembered it. There's no way you would forget this book. So, finished that. And then I was like, I think I need something a little bit, I don't know, not as, you know, thriller page turner, because that's the kind of stuff I love to read. So I'm currently reading this book called Let's Get Back to the Party by Zach Salih, I think is his name. It's Salih. I tweeted it out if you want to know what it is. And it just came out in February. It's his debut novel. And I'm not that far into it yet. I'm like an hour and a half in. I really, to be honest with you, I started it last night. And I was like, I finished the B.A. Paris book, and then I started this one. Oh, somebody tweeted me, and they said, or commented, and they said, the last line of Behind Closed Doors, like, still haunts me. And I was like, so waiting for the last line. And so then when I listened to that last line, I was like, oh my God, there's this new restaurant over here called LA Tacos. I've never seen it before. It's interesting. Anyway, so I started this new book that's called Let's Get Back to the Party. And it's about these two gay guys that I think are like in their 30s. I can't really figure it out. So like in 1994, I think they're like supposed to be like 10 in 1994. So yeah, I think they're like in their mid 30s. So they were friends when they were in elementary school. And now they live like in Washington, D.C. And they run into each other at a wedding, like right after marriage equality became legal. It's so interesting listening to it because I'll never forget that day. And it was, I think it was June 26th, 2015. And they talk a lot about it in the book. Alex called me and he said, and we had already had our, you know, our wedding in Las Vegas. We got married in 2011, but he said, I'm taking the day off and we're going down to get married before they reverse this decision, because that was when marriage equality was decided. I think it was in Indiana, that was the day, December 26th, or June 26th, I mean. So, we went down to the city county building in downtown Indianapolis, and I remember we had on like shorts and polo shirts. We were supposed to have dinner with my aunt and uncle that afternoon, which we did, and end up having dinner with them. And it ended up becoming like this very celebratory thing. And we went down there. We ran into so many friends of ours that were like getting married, and they did change it like 2 days later, but then they made it legal again. Like I think a couple weeks after that. And so it was kind of like how the whole Proposition 8 thing happened, because we got married during that time period, those 3 days before they reversed it. I mean, we were legally married. So, but I remember we went down there, and it was there was a line all the way out of the city county building, like where giving the marriage certificates and stuff. And everybody was like really dressed up except for us, because we'd already had our wedding, you know. And they had this big like Indiana map, and then they had a United States map, and then they had a world map. And like from like wherever you were, if you were like the first one from like this city in Indiana, or this state in the United States, or this country, the first one to get married that day, then you got to put like this push tab into this thing. And so Alex was the first person in Indiana, first gay person to get, LGBTQIA person to get married from Venezuela. So he got to push his tab in there. And it was just the coolest thing. And then they were like, for an extra $20, you can have it officiated today. And so we ended up having it officiated. If I remember, I'll put the picture up here somewhere of us getting it officiated that day. But it was really cool. And so anyway, this book goes back and it talks about that time period of like marriage equality becoming legalized and whatever, which it's interesting because this one guy's talking about advocating for it when he was in college. And Alex and I were like, we did a lot of stuff about marriage equality, and we ended up getting our pictures on USA Today, on the website and on the newspaper. That we were on the front of it with like 5 or 6 other couples. And if they asked us for a wedding picture of ours, I had actually written this was way before I was on YouTube. I had written this article. A friend of mine she's an attorney now. I think at the time she was in law school, and she was part of Young Republicans for Marriage Equality or something like that. And so she asked me to write this letter called, she was like, can you just write a letter to me that I can read like in the courtroom, talking about how your life is affected by the fact that you can't get married. And so, because there was at the time, there was going to be a ban on marriage equality in Indiana. I don't know that many people know this, but Vice President Pence was actually our governor at the time, and he was, I think, one of the first governors in the country to pass the Religious Freedom Act, which basically meant that anybody that was part of the LGBTQIA community, you could go into any store, any restaurant, and be denied services. And so I went in and I wrote this letter, and it was called Dear Annie. And Dear Annie, this is how the ban on gay marriage will affect our life, or something like that. And it went literally viral, like viral. It was crazy. I woke up and it was like millions of hits, and USA Today picked it up, and the Huffington Post picked it up, and you can still find it. It's called, if you just put in Peter Monn, Dear Annie, it'll pull up. And it was crazy. So anyway, so yeah, so it's weird reading this book, because this book reminds me a lot of that period of our, of our lives, or my life. And so it's about these two guys, and this one guy is like really wanting to be in a relationship. So they meet up again, like they were friends when they were little kids, and then the one moves away, like when he's in like junior high or high school, to Ohio. And then they meet up again in college one night, like they pass each other and they see each other, and they kind of like, but it's like nothing, like they just like run into each other. And then they see each other at this wedding. It's like one of the first gay weddings, and well, first like legal gay weddings. And the one guy just got out of a relationship, the main character Sebastian, and he is like really like wanting to be like married and settle down and stuff. And his friend Oscar that he runs into, who they can't stop thinking about each other, but like he's like on like the meetup apps like Grindr, and he is like totally anti-settling down and getting married. So it's just like this real, it's just starting to see like two opposing sides of kind of like how gay men were, like their response to marriage equality at that time. It's a very interesting read. And the characters are really interesting too, so. I started talking about a friend of mine. I can't believe I never do that on my BookTube videos. Anyway, right out of the gate, after the wedding, this one guy, his name's Oscar, he goes to meet up with somebody that he's like hooking up with off this app, at this bar, and the guy doesn't show up, and so he ends up talking to this guy that's like older, and he's like a writer. And you know, it's always interesting to me in like books and movies how older gay men are portrayed as being like throwaways, kind of, you know, like just has-been throwaways. It's always interesting to me, especially because that's not my experience. Like when I came out and I was, you know, growing up within the gay community, I had some older gay friends gay guy friends that were fantastic mentors to me and never tried anything with me and were just really, really supportive of me. I still do, you know? And so, I don't know, it's kind of like sad to me, this whole idea that once you pass 30 or 40 in the gay community, you're just washed up and you're done. And I feel like a lot of writers and TV show writers and movie writers perpetuate that kind of story idea. And I don't really understand the necessity for it. You know, it's like, it's a stereotypical kind of response to older men in the gay community. And it was like, could we maybe write some more creative characters around that role? And maybe it's because I'm getting older, but like, that was just not my experience when I was growing up in the gay community, you know? I don't know. And even today, like, I have some, like, very dear friends of mine that are older gay men that are like in their 60s and early 70s. And they're literally the ones that are like throwing the biggest parties in Indianapolis, and I just put it into neutral. And, you know, like everybody's like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? I mean, like they're still like some of the most popular people. So it's crazy to me. I mean, in the social scene, you know, which I'm not really that big of a part of anymore. But so it's crazy to me that there's like that. And, you know, and like when you watch these shows too, where you'll have like older gay man, you know, talks about his youth, it's like, oh, well, you're washed up and it's over. I don't know. It just is really sad to me. It's like, I feel like that stereotype is perpetuated constantly, and I don't know. I don't like it. So, and he does it a little bit in the book. That's the only thing that kind of bothers me so far, except that there's a purpose for why he does that. He's teaching a character a lesson, basically. So that was interesting. And I think that's going to develop into something else. So we'll see what happens. But I'm really enjoying the book. It's called Let's Get Back to the Party. It's by Zach Sala. So you should check it out. And those are the books that I'm reading right now. I'm also reading Anne Frank's Diary, the graphic novel. I'm like really struggling getting through it. I don't know if this is how the Diary of Anne Frank was, because I don't remember reading it, if I read it all the way through. I'm thinking about rereading it, or whatever. She comes across as rather snarky in this graphic novel, like almost unlikable, which is interesting to me. The illustrations are beautiful, but the book is strange, so I'm not enjoying reading it at all. But I feel like since I'm halfway through, I should probably finish it. But anyway, that's what I'm reading right now. So, what are you guys reading? Put it in the comment section below. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.